So this will be my 1,000 mile review of the Aventon Aventure Model 1. And I just want to go ahead and jump into each of the components here, starting with the one that I was most interested in, and I think a lot of you will be most interested in. My question was, how is the battery life going to hold up? And I have to say it's holding up really well. As you can see right here, 94% on my battery right now. I had a 13-mile commute this morning, and I used level assist 3, the pedal assist 3, on the way in today. And that is incredible. Absolutely no degradation. That's what I was getting when I first got the bike. Also have been testing out my pedal assist 4 and pedal assist 5 because that's usually what I ride in, and it's holding up, doing just as well as it did mile 1 as it is at mile 1,000. Charging is super fast. I drained it down to 0 2 times, and both times it took about 4.5 hours to charge from 0 to fully charge. And in fact, that's how long it takes in general for my battery to charge most days. Most days I'm draining it down to about 40%, and it still takes about 4 to 4.5 hours to charge. And the battery, here's just one feature before I move on. One of the things I like about Aventon is they kind of have thought about everything. So let me just show you if you can see this. When I go to unlock the battery, I don't have to worry about having both hands on the battery, or any hand on the battery for that matter. It pops out and it has this little mechanism that catches, and then you simply have to pull it to get it to continue to go. I know some batteries, they just slide right out of the bike. You turn the key and you've got to hold it, or else that thing's just falling right out. So the fact that this just pops out and stays exactly in place is super sweet, super nice. And you'll find all throughout your Aventon bikes that they've really thought through all of those little kind of things that make it a premium experience with the bike. All right, and so then moving on to the next thing that I was most concerned about, and that was the rear motor. I shouldn't expect at 1,000 miles having any issues with it, but I really have put it through its paces. I really pushed this thing hard. I rode it up lots of hills. I'm riding most of the time in pedal assist 5, so that's 28 miles an hour, and I'm really pushing this motor, and it's still performing wonderfully. This thing has not slowed down. There is no lag in it. It is performing well, and I fully anticipate it to continue to be just as strong. It has no issues getting me up hills. It has no issues whatsoever with now having any kind of noise or weird vibrations or anything coming from it. It's just as sound as when I first rolled out on this bike. The next thing that I really thought that would be an issue for me, and that is the tires. And by that I mean, how many flat tires would I end up with these big huge tires? Because in my city there are goat heads everywhere, and I would get flats all the time on my typical standard road bike that I used to ride. I would get flats probably every 50 to 100 miles that I put on that bike. I really was hopeful that this bike would do much better, and it has. I have to say that I've only had 2 flats on this bike. Both were on the rear tire, okay? And the tread, just so you can see, I'm gonna get it here, the tread is holding up just fine. There's plenty of life left in this tire at 1,000 miles. I didn't get my first flat in this bike until about 400 miles into it. My second flat came 500 miles later. So I have to say I'm definitely getting better flat performance than I typically would get on my road bike as well. And to answer any questions, how hard is this rear wheel with the motor to change? Well, I just put a video out about that, and you can see that video that it's really not an issue. It's really not a struggle whatsoever. What about the Drivetrain? How is that holding up? Well, the chain has held up beautifully. Haven't had to change it. I've had no broken links. The derailleur is doing just fine. I'm going to have to adjust it now, which is pretty typical. I'm going to need to readjust this. It's not quite shifting as smoothly as I would want it to as the first day that I started riding it, but that's pretty typical of derailleurs. They need to be fine-tuned and adjusted from time to time, and it's still performing. It's still shifting. It's still going through the gears. It's not super clunky. It's just not as smooth as I would want it. I'm being a little picky here so that you can know, but this is very typical of rear derailleurs, so no issues or struggles there. When it comes to the disc brakes, those are performing really well, which is a good thing here for me to point out to you, because when I first got these out of the box, if you remember, or if you've watched one of my previous videos, my review video especially, these disc brakes were horrible out of the box. They never really performed well, and that front disc brake over there had all kinds of residue on it. It was definitely a issue. It was not braking, and in that video I showed it took me about 90 feet to stop from 28 miles an hour, which was horrible. And I contacted customer service, Aventon. They were super great, super fast. Took 2 days to get me a new set of pads and a new set of discs. I popped those on and I bedded them in properly. There's no contaminants on them now, and these brakes are performing really, really well. They are stopping me perfectly fine within safe distances, no issues whatsoever there. As far as the suspension fork, it's doing well. I do appreciate and I do enjoy it, although I find that the preload is finicky. Just to be honest, probably my least favorite thing, the thing that I'm least impressed with on the bike is this front suspension fork. It just doesn't have the functionality that I would really want from my suspension front fork, but it does enough. As you can see how much travel I'm getting with it. I just find that the preload it isn't that great, so I find I don't adjust it too much because it just doesn't do much for me as I adjust it. And so I kind of have set it and dialed it in to where I want it, and I'm a little nervous to touch it again because it's just not the easiest or best to mess with. All of the electricals are doing just fine. The screen, as you saw, was still working just well. The front light works just fine, although it's really not all that bright, so I wouldn't rely on it or trust it at night, but I don't like riding at night anyway. So that's performing well. The wheels are staying true, so that was a concern of mine as well. Were the wheels going to hold up? And they are. Even at 28 miles an hour flying down the road and hitting these bumps, they are holding up just fine. I have not had to replace anything other than the disc brakes when I first got it. Everything else was performing wonderfully. I did swap some things out now, so you'll be able to see on the bike that there are definitely some upgrades and changes to the bike from what comes stock from their website. But that was preference and choice for me. So I'll go ahead and talk about those upgrades that I did now and why. Okay, so the first upgrade that I did was I changed out the stem that you had on the bike. I found that the riding position for me was just too aggressive for my daily use. I wanted to be more upright, so I got this adjustable stem. And again, these upgrades, I will link to them in the description so you can see exactly which ones I have. This stem is a great quality, sturdy stem. It's a great price. It's not expensive, but it is quality. It holds well. I haven't had any issues with it. And this stem, I've been riding with this stem for probably about 300 miles now, so it's doing really well. I really enjoy it. I will say though, if you buy it just to be safe, some people I've seen have installed these on their Adventures and not needed an extra ring, but I needed an extra ring, so I just purchased a little ring set, and I'll link to that as well to make sure that everything was tight and sturdy and exactly where I wanted it to be. But I was able to raise up the handlebars, much more comfy of a ride. Really helps with the shoulders and the neck and even the lower back, which also, by the way, I upgraded as I have a video out where I tested out the suspension seat post here that you're seeing. This is the Connect, and it is incredible. I also recommend the Sun Tour. I tested out the Sun Tour as well, and that one actually performed really, really well. It really surprised me. But the Connect was, for me, the absolute smoothest ride I have ever been on for a bike. This really is so comfortable. I have no lower back pain. I was starting to get a little bit of back pain until I put this guy on, and that really wiped out the back pain for me. So this Connect suspension seat post, in combination with adjusting my riding position with the stem, has really made this ride an absolutely comfortable ride. I am never tired, never sore when I'm riding the bike. Additionally, I added this rear rack because this rear rack is something that is able to work flawlessly with this bag. Okay, so this is the Ibera bag and rack combo system. They go together, and as you can see, it's a pretty good size bag, but I'll go ahead and just open it up and show you. I don't have much in it right now, but as you can see, it's got my trusty hat in it. It's got my charger, some bike tool, a couple of bike tools here that I like to use, or a little compartment here for I put gloves and the strap for the bag in here as well, because this bag, one of the great things about it is this little lever here. So if you can see it, you simply push in on that lever and it's going to release from the rack. So you can pull it off, and it has a little lip here that connects in on the other side as well. So you can take it with you and not have to worry about leaving it on your bike. I really do appreciate that feature very much. Locks into place just like that. Has a rear bag here, and in addition to what I just showed you, there's also another top bag here. Keep my spare glasses and some things there. But really what makes this really so versatile is you have the option here to use this as a simple side bag, or to unzip it and open it completely. And now you have massive amounts of storage space, and both sides perform that way. So you actually have a lot of storage. This could be a more than just a commuter bag, which is what I use it for, but if you're doing some bike packing, this is a decent bag for that as well. So again, I bought this bag and rack combination because it just works together flawlessly. It really is a good system. I had another bag on here that had the Velcro to the bottom, and it was a little more flimsy and just really didn't work for me. Didn't have nearly as much space. And with this rack combo, it's amazing. It fits really well, almost like it was designed for the Adventure. It really is kind of a flawless snug fit. Really do appreciate this rack. It's super nice, super sturdy and strong, no rattle, no issues with it. And if you notice, I don't have the fenders on the bike. I took those off, not just because of the rack here, but because they kind of rattled a little too much. So I really didn't want those on. To me, I live in a pretty dry climate. There's not a lot of water, and I just really don't have a big need for the fenders. You can see I'm definitely getting some spray on the bike from my rides when I go through the gutters and things like that, but really I don't show up all dirty and muddy. And if the wet season ever does hit for any extended time, I can always put the fenders back on, but I just didn't like them. They were too rattly, they made too much noise for me, and so those had to go. They're at home in the garage. All right, the next upgrade that I did was my cell phone mount here. This is also I'll link to it. This is one of the strongest, sturdiest ones that I have ever used. They just stay in place when you are riding, even off-road. These things just stay where they're supposed to be. The clamp itself is really fast and efficient. A lot of these, when you get them, it takes 5 hours to loosen it so that it comes off, and then it takes 5 hours to tighten it up. But this is just a couple of twists and it's done, and it's tight and it's secure. Okay, and then finally, the last little upgrade that I had was this guy here, which here, let me turn him on for you real quick. This is my rear view mirror camera that is just really quite handy and wonderful. I use it when I'm towing my son behind me. I can see him behind me and the traffic behind me and make sure that he's safe and we're safe. And I use it for my commuting because the bike lanes are really tiny and really horrible. And so this definitely gives me that peace of mind in knowing if a car is coming up behind me, when I need to get over, and just saves you when you're commuting and driving in the city. You just have such a better view than those typical small little rear view mirror mounts that you have. This thing is excellent. I can reposition it. And again, I'll link to this as well. Came with the strap, so you can see I strapped it all along here. I ran it down along the cable housing here, strapped it with these little straps that came with it. I'll eventually, once I have this dialed in more, I'll eventually get this running through the battery compartment, down and out the bottom, but just wanted to test it out for a little while. I've been testing it out, put a few uses on it, and really enjoy it. The thing is really pretty good. I don't know if you can see me over there in the camera, but nice big field of view. I can pretty much see the whole road, not just the car that's coming right behind me. I've been using this light here that's bright enough during the day for me. It's going a little dead at the moment. I need to recharge it, so it's not the brightest at the moment, so I'll need to go charge that before I hit the road again. But I like the combination of the blue and red. It, I think, gets the attention of drivers a little bit more to have those two combos of colors. And again, like I said, it is fairly bright enough for riding during the day for me, as I found. Just make sure you keep it charged up so that it is nice and bright, because obviously it does get dull if you don't keep it charged up. But I like it. It has several different features there. Again, I'll link for these. This thing was just a bargain at 15 bucks. It was so cheap that I had to give it a shot, and I've been happy with it. It's really done the job for me, and I am, as I said, happy with that. People, they want to know, would you have gone with the Venture 2? Because you got this after the 2 had come out. Do you regret not getting the 2? And I have to say, I don't. I enjoy that cadence sensor. It gives me the opportunity to ghost pedal when I want to ghost pedal. I like the battery life that I'm getting out of it. I like that I can very easily get up to 28 miles an hour. It really does set the bar pretty high for me in future bikes that I'll be reviewing for this channel. If you have any other questions that I didn't go over in this review, go ahead and put them down in the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if this is helpful content for you. We have lots more coming out. Take care, guys. Bye.